Hello friends and enemies, welcome to or back to Happy For Now. It's me Isabel here with recs for a lot of the major subgenres in romance. The list of subgenres in romance is vast. I'm taking a very high level view at these, okay, and giving you some options on places you could start for these categories, for you know, some different things to try. Some of the things that are hits across the board. I've not really had anyone I know read it and not enjoy it at the very least. So yeah, I kind of mentioned this in my Romance 101 video that I did, so I figure let's follow that up with this recommendation video where I give you a lot of book options. So I will of course have everything linked for you down below because it's going to be a lot of books, okay? I tried to keep this as short as I could, but that's near impossible in my opinion, so here we are with a lot of options for you. So let's dive in with the biggest genre, I would say, contemporary romance. Not necessarily like biggest by default, but like I feel like it's the most well-known genre. And contemporary is going to have a range within it from things like sports romances, cowboys, various tropes, and things like that. And I've got a couple of recommendations for you in this category. I do have a sports one and mostly just contemporary, straight contemporary. So first things first, we have to talk about In a Jam by Kate Canterbury. This is a book that my group chat loves, and honestly I don't know anyone I've had read it yet that hasn't enjoyed it. This is a second chance-ish, light on the second chance. Basically they were friends in high school, she comes back and he is running his family's farm and raising his niece, and she needs to get married so she can inherit this tulip farm from her grandma who has passed. And he's literally like, no, like, we can find a way around this. Like, I was a lawyer, we can find a way around this. And she's like, no, I want to do it in good faith. So they get married. And it is such a sweet romance. It is so cute. It is steamy. I say sweet, but there is steam in this, okay? A good bit of steam, to be honest. So it is a nicely paced, longer romance that I think delivers on so many fronts. As far as trope delivery and just enjoyability, it is one of those books that you will fly through even though it is longer, and I think is so worth your time. You meet a fantastic kid in this one also, and the second book just recently came out called In a Rush, so you have that to follow it up with if you do enjoy it. But I think Kate Canterbury, like with this book specifically, really nails what I do love in a contemporary romance, and this felt very realistic, but also it's a romance, so like there's non-realistic elements, okay? But we had a nice balance and mix of various tropes and yearning and all the things I personally at least am seeking in a romance. Next we have Christina C. Jones, who is like one of my favorites. I adore her. She read some of my favorite Black romances. I have many other favorites as well, but I think her Wright Brothers series is her or Love Sisters series are her most like recommendable books in my opinion, and easiest to dive into and dip your toes in. The Wright Brothers in particular are three books following three brothers. Our first one is a girl who is basically a college TA and a veteran who is a student, and their romance is called Getting Schooled. It's fantastic. The Love Sisters ones on the flip side are cousins of the Wright Brothers, and also hilarious. These ones are a little more comedic, I would consider them, and a little more off the wall. I loved both of them equally and for different reasons. The Wright Brothers were my introduction, so I'm always defaulting to them as my recommendation, but you cannot go wrong with either of these. I think they're fantastic. They're short, they're accessible, they're not too much. If you want to try hockey romance and you feel like they're all sound very samey, I'm gonna give a recommendation that I find very readable as well. That's the key here. All of these I find very readable, easy to dive into. And that is going to be The Carolina Comments by Tegan Hunter. This is a book series that I flew through all of them, and then I was sad I was caught up. And I've enjoyed her spinoff, The Seattle Serpents, a good bit, but The Carolina Comments are always going to hold a special place for me. Our first book, we have a heroine who makes prop replica horror dolls and stuff. That's her business, and I think that's really interesting. It's a very silly setup. We have one with a goalie who has a scar on his face. It's very Beauty and the Beast themed, and she's an influencer. They accidentally get married in Vegas. Like, you get a lot of different tropes in here, and you follow the whole team through, basically. So that's really fun. You get to see everyone's HEA and see them back together again, and it's really precious and sweet. And there's these group chats where they're texting. The group chats are probably what made me fall more in love with the series, because you really got to feel each of our heroes and how different they were, and also how different each of the heroines are. When you have a series this long, I always get worried that the heroines are going to start to feel samey, but they're all so very, very unique in the best ways. So another one I highly recommend. Then we have Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole. This is my go-to first-time romance reader recommendation because if you are aware of the Nigerian prince scam emails, this book is based on that. She is a graduate student for a program like science stuff, and she's getting these emails that like, we're looking for you, this prince in this country, and she's like, this is the weirdest spam emails. Well, he finds her and he joins her at her job as like a caterer and ends up convincing her to come back home with him because turns out her parents were part of a royal family and she was kind of left without them anymore and without this knowledge. So he takes her home and she has to learn the ways to be a princess and all this stuff, and they end up married. And it's really cute. It's such a fun setup. I think it's a book that defies a lot of people's expectations for a romance and what a romance is or could or should be in their minds. This is one of the ones that I recommend to a lot of people who are new to the genre. I think it's very fun and it really balances a lot of things perfectly. There's a book later in the series, Prince on Paper, one of the earliest ADHD representations I read on page with a hero that had it, and I never felt so seen, and it's really magical. So this series in general holds a really special place for me, but I just cannot recommend it enough. So then we have Role Playing by Kathy Yardley. This is a older couple romance. They both play a game online together, and turns out they live in the same town. He has broken his foot and she's concerned he can't take care of himself, and she thinks he's a lot younger than he is. Well, it turns out they're both in their 40s. I believe she might be older. She goes to bring him food and is like startled when he's hot. And it's their romance. We have demisexual and bisexual representation, I believe, in this book, if I recall correctly. Our hero is bisexual, and we have a great like shut down the family moment, which I live for in contemporaries, especially when someone is being like shitty to someone else and the love interest is like, absolutely not, we're not doing this. It doesn't matter who it is. Like, that is one of the things I absolutely adore. And Role Playing had that. This is definitely a bit cozier, a bit slower of a romance, but I think it's so sweet and good, and it's a fun time to read about an older couple, in my opinion. Definitely one worth checking out. Let's talk about paranormal romance. So paranormal romance is one of my favorite subgenres in the in romance. This is going to be your werewolves, vampires. We're going to talk about monsters as their own thing, but monsters would fall under this. Generally, your shifters, Omegaverse could fall under this. Omegaverse also, in general, I would say, also falls into contemporary and other categories as well. It's kind of like it's more of a trope setup / a structure to the story than like a specific subgenre. But paranormal is my favorite. I love a paranormal romance. I am a paranormal girl. I cannot recommend it enough, but I've got a couple for you here. We have Alona Andrews' Hidden Legacy. I think this is a default rec. Another one that I think is a really great option and an entry point for those who have read fantasies or urban fantasies or sci-fis potentially. Like, Alona Andrews kind of writes it all and writes across the board. But Hidden Legacy is my favorite by them. This is the series that follows. We have trilogies for each couple. We do not know when we're getting the last trilogy yet because her love interest is Russian. And that's kind of put that on hold with the whole situation right now. So fair, and I respect that. So in this series, we follow Nevada and Mad Rogan, who is basically known as being bonkers. And this is definitely a slow burn because it's 3 books for the same couple. But Nevada is trying to solve this case. She runs her own private detective agency that she inherited from her dad, and her whole family lives together. We've got like the bonkers grandma and her siblings that are also hilarious, and this guy that is notorious, literally notorious around town, and she's trying to figure out what's going on, and he's also trying to solve this case. And they end up kind of not wanting to, but working together. And it's their romance. There's some hilarious confessions, things like that. He's also extremely powerful. This has a magical family setup as well, which is really nice and interesting. It is set in Houston, and they are really good at capturing location when it comes to where these books are set because they've lived in these areas. I can guarantee it because Kate Daniels is set in Atlanta, and they nail what I imagine a post-apocalyptic Atlanta would be. Same thing here with this one set in Houston. They talk about how bad the traffic is and just certain specific Houston things, and I'm like, yeah, this is correct. I really love this series. I really, really recommend it to anyone who's like hesitant to try paranormals or magical books. I think it's a great option. I think it's low commitment because you could read the first book and decide it's not for you. But if you like it, you have 6 more books to read in that series. And then there's even more in Alona Andrews' universe in general to dive into. Then we have the Elemental Love series by Celestine Martin. This is a completed trilogy following 3 witches that are cousins. Our first book is a witch and a merman. Book 2 is a fae, and book 3 is a warlock. They're really fun. They're very cozy. They're very low stakes, but not low, like they have just enough stakes, kind of cozy. They are set, though the covers are fall, they are not necessarily set in the fall. I think you could start, if you want to read them seasonally, you could start with book Witchful Thinking now, and then the last one is fallish, if I recall correctly. But these are really fun, really cute, enjoyable little romps of a time. Basically, these 3 cousins cast a spell, a wish together, and then they get granted their wishes. And it's really interesting, really fun, small town vibes, but with magic. And then if you want a really, really long series, there's 2 options. I feel like that fall. Nalani Singh and Cressley Cole are like 2 staples in the paranormal genre, I would say. The Sci Changeling kind of borders on sci-fi as well in a weird way, and I do love the series. I think the Sci Changeling series is fantastic. Personally, I would start with Heart's Obsidian. Yes, it is like book 13 or 14, but that's my favorite. Heart of Obsidian, I have a special bind of it up here. Like, it is my all-time favorite Nalani Singh that I've read, because this follows a very much morality chain hero who will do anything to save her and her alone, and that is the only reason he is good, is for her. But the Sci Changeling series overall follows different shifters and psychic abilities with different characters and their journey in this world that is trying to figure it out, basically. But the world, in my opinion, is a little sci-fi-y. So that's where I say, like, it's kind of on the border of both of these. And then Cressley Cole is an author you'll hear me also talk about a lot, one of my all-time favorites, and that is the author of the Immortals After Dark series, which I adore. This is one that is not going to be for everyone. I find a lot of people like one or the other between Cressley and Nalani, or they like both, but a lot of people I know are like one or the other. Cressley is less world building, more character driven, and different couples each book situations where we get little bits of the overarching world plot, whereas the Sci Changeling series, in my opinion, is very world building driven, different couples, but I feel like we're getting a lot more of the world throughout the books than you do in Cressley's. Cressley's, you're going to have various types of paranormal beings. So you've got shifters, you've got Valkyrie, you've got werewolves, you've got vampires, you've got fae, you've got like poison, there's like a dragon, like there's a lot happening here, and it's similarly long in length as the Nalani books. So those 2 are great options and staples in the genre, in my opinion, for good reason, but maybe also intimidating to a newcomer to the category. And then last but not least, if you want to try a bonkers banana pants paranormal, why choose Her Vicious Beast by E.P. Pally. This is banana pants shifter paranormal situation. There's a paranormal academy, there's fated mates, there's a lot of things happening here. I think it's really, really good. Really, really fun. It is bonkers. It is not going to be for everyone. Super not going to be for everyone. But if you like see me reading books where I'm just like, this is wild, this is one of those books that I've read and have been like, this is wild. And I devoured 500 plus pages of this book series in a couple days. I read the novella, which you can get for free from her website. I read the first book and the second book all within the span of a few days and could not stop to save my life because it was so much fun. So this is also an option to kind of pop on your radar potentially, but again, this is one that I think is like, it's like a 200 class rec. Monsters. Monsters is like a subset of paranormal romances. I think there are 2 that are really great starting points. I think Green-Eyed Monster by Elsie Winters is a great option. It is a short little monster romance set around a college and some stuff happening. And I think it's a really fun, silly read. But my default recommendation for anyone wanting to try monster romances and you don't want to dive headfirst into the milking one, which is Morning Glory Milking Farm, Lillian Lark, because I think Lillian Lark has one for everyone to an extent. She makes it really interesting. They're very, very, very well written. And you can read the Monstrous Matches series basically and get a taste of a lot of types of monsters. So there's that. Lillian is one of my gold star auto pickup authors. I am always reading her books when they come out, and then I'm sad because I'm caught up. Like, I'm current on all of her titles and I'm sad about it. So there's that. But yeah, Lillian Lark is a fantastic option for anyone wanting to read or wanting to try monster romances, in my opinion. Let's talk about another genre that I feel like is waning in popularity currently, but will always come back around. It is a classic, it is a staple for romance, and that's historical romances. I'm going to be focusing on non-Regency historicals because I feel like there's tons of rec videos for Regency historicals, and honestly, I don't love a Regency these days. There's a handful I've enjoyed, but I'm a picky girl when it comes to my Regencies now. But I must discuss the Uptown Girls series by Joanna Shupe. If you want a Gilded Age set in New York romance with 3 sisters that is so good. One of them, he owns a gambling hall. And there is a scene. Oh, there is a scene. Anyways, these are so good. When these came out, they were really popular, and rightfully so. I cannot recommend them enough. I think they are very, very fun. Very well plotted. Very fun setting, because like it feels very unique being in Gilded Age New York, in my opinion. And I cannot recommend these enough. This trilogy, give it a go. If you've never read Gilded Age, this trilogy, give a go. Joanna Shupe kills it with these books. They're spectacular and so worth your time. Honestly, it makes me want to reread them. I might reread them soon. Then we have Miss Beverly Jenkins, the queen of historical romances. She's been writing for so long. She's fantastic. If you ever get the opportunity to meet her or see her speak somewhere, I highly recommend it. Her history in the romance genre is so integral to where we are today. And I cannot get I want to catch up on Beverly Jenkins books, but I also refuse to get caught up on Beverly Jenkins books because I don't want to ever run out. But she is always my blanket recommendation for American historicals. She writes historical set in America, including things set in the American West with her Forbidden trilogy. This one is really fantastic, but I also love her Destiny's Captive in that series. We have a girl who kidnaps our hero, and like that's a blast. All of her books are so fun and so delightful that I cannot recommend them enough. You really can't go wrong picking any Beverly Jenkins up, in my opinion. And I think that she's just a master of the craft, a master at these books, and truly, like, I've never been disappointed by a single Beverly Jenkins historical I have read. They're also interconnected, technically. So families in each historical will show up in other historicals, and that's really, really fun. And her more recent series, Women Who Dare, is fantastic as well. We have women who are just different kinds of heroines than you normally would get. That's a fun time. And then last but not least, I guess technically this one is Regency. This is the only Regency I have for you, is the Las Leonas Sisters by Adriana Herrera series. I just finished the series up this year. The 3rd book came out this year, and these are really fun. So we have 3 books. The first book is MF, the second book is Sapphic, and the 3rd book is MF. But we have varying situations here, and they're really fun. The 3rd book in particular deals heavily in women's access to healthcare, and I thought that was really great. Book 2 is a woman who is pursuing the arts, and she finds her lover, and that they continue to help her pursue her arts dreams and things like that. Book 1 is our heroine and a distiller, I believe, if I recall correctly. I read that one right when it came out, so I don't fully remember it at this point, but this trilogy is fantastic and would also be a great starting point, in my opinion, because it gives you a different view of the Regency than what you're going to get in a lot of the other books. And I think that's important. Let's talk about sci-fi romance. I'm really just flopping around here to different subgenres. I have one recommendation for space romance right now. Two. I have 2. So I have the Firebird Chronicles, which I'm currently doing a read-along for. We are going to be done with it next week. We will be on the last book. This is definitely a slow burn romance. If you've read Alona Andrews and you've wanted to try sci-fi and you didn't read the Clean Sweep series, you could try this. Clean Sweep definitely has sci-fi elements. And Firebird Chronicles follows our heroine who finds out that she's not what she thought she was necessarily, and is learning about her origins and going through these trials and navigating a lot of people who don't want her alive anymore. On that note, you can read this Clean Sweep series by Alona Andrews. I think that's what it's called. This follows an innkeeper who has portals to different realms and stuff, and there is sci-fi elements here that is really fun and entertaining. Again, if you read one Alona Andrews and you like it, try the other ones. You gotta try the other ones, because you are gonna find more things you like. For aliens, I've got a couple options for you that are not Ice Planet Barbarians. I love Ice Planet Barbarians. I think they're well worth reading, but I want to give you some other choices. So we have Desire in His Blood, which is our alien vampire that I read recently and loved. This is definitely one that is going to interest anyone who already likes paranormal, wants to try sci-fi. You get a mix of both. This follows our alien vampire who marries this woman because she is trying to get her family out of debt, and basically she's just been working really hard to do this, and it's not going well, to say the least. It is not going well, but in doing so they end up married, And we find out a lot about the truth around her father's like status in the world, and that was really interesting. There's a lot of like dislike for her, but then they find out she had no idea the truth, and then it all like kind of vanishes, which I really enjoyed. There's definitely, again, that like fish out of water feeling for our heroine as she lands on this planet, but I also really love it because there's some Don't Touch My Wife vibes too. Then we have I Married a Lizard Man by Regine Abel. This is like a little bit weird, this series, but basically these women join up for this bridal program, or this mate program, and they get sent to these places, and our heroine gets sent to the lizard man planet and ends up with the lizard man, and it's her romance with him. It's weird, it's kind of funny, it's silly, it's a good time. It's definitely worth a read, I think, if you're interested in trying it. If you want a harder hitting alien romance that's a little more intense, a little more like it's a little heavier, I would say Taken to Veraxia by Elizabeth Stevens is a great option for that. This one, our heroine is on a planet where these men come and do this game every year where they hunt the women to mate them, and our leader of this planet that is coming to do this finds out about this. He didn't know, and he sees her and it's his mate, and she like runs away because she's like, I don't want to do this game. But he's like, no, you're my mate, like I want to find you, and he finds out the truth and he fixes the problem. So that's really fun and sweet. It's very interesting, it's very different, but I liked it. And then Strange Love by Anna Guire is for any of my Mass Effect fans, kind of. Our hero is this weird, awkward alien who has lost 4 times in the choosing, and you have to take your mate to the choosing and guard this nest. Well, he does a mating service, and a freak solar flare ends up with him matched with a human. And it's not what he expected or what he thought he was going to get. And that's it just turns into a really interesting dynamic. It was very fun. It's very different. We have different parts than we're used to seeing also. I will say that if that's something you don't want or you do want. So keep that in mind. But it was really fun and enjoyable. Okay. Fantasy romance. I have 2 for you because fantasy romance is the one genre I struggle. I struggle so hard with fantasy romance, and I'm sorry, I do. And I'll never not, probably. So there's that. But we have The Midwinter Mail Order Bride by Katie Wilde. This is a novella that I think is fantastic. It is set in a more barbaric world, so to speak. She gets sent to him to be his bride. She's trying to communicate with him about this thing happening, and he like will not listen to her. And she ends up running off to like help, and he follows her. And it's their adventure and their romance. And it's delightful. I really, really liked it. It surprised me in the best ways. But yeah, this was really good. It's 185 pages. So honestly, if you just need a quick read, try it. The other one I'm going to recommend is a duology. The first one is called The Crescent Spell. I will say I feel like it wrapped up a little too quickly in book 2, but I do recommend it. If you are a fan of Studio Ghibli, and specifically Howl's Moving Castle, this could be for you. This is a really fun fantasy romance. Our heroine has magic powers, it turns out, and she's not supposed to, and she ends up going on the run with these wizards, and there's political intrigue. It is a wide choose. There are 3 other wizards, I think, in the romance, and a moving house, and like a magical house situation. It's very, very Howl's Moving Castle, but also very politically charged and intriguing. So, could be worth a pickup. Next, let's talk about dark romance. This is the genre that I think is the hardest to recommend in because everybody has different lines. So you've got to proceed with all forms of caution possible when diving in. Dark romance does not mean there's no consent. It does not mean there are books that don't deal with heavy topics and political things and other things like that. Like, dark romance is so many things and can be so many things. So if you want to try some dark romance, I think the Wicked Villain series could be a great starting point. They're short and they're quick reads. Book 1 does have some non-con in it, or let me rephrase that. Book 1 has what appears to be non-con. In reality, it's consent, non-consent. So consent was established prior to the scene, but you don't get that on page. You kind of find that out later as you read the book. These are various fairy tale inspired stories, and I really liked the series. I didn't like the witches, the Sea Witch. That was the only one I didn't love personally, but these are all centered around a sex club and various villains getting their HEAs. So our first one is Jafar and Jasmine, and it's a good time. It's a good time. Truly, it's a good time. But again, it does have a consent, non-consent scene right in the beginning. So if you don't like that, proceed with caution. Then we have Dark Mafia Prince by Annika Martin, which I loved, and I honestly need to finish the series. This is one of those dark books where I was like, there's no way. Someone told me I'd feel a certain way, and I was like, no way. And then I was like, yeah, no, absolutely, which is cut her finger off. there's a scene where he is going to cut her finger off, and I was like, you know what? He could come back from this. He could come back from this. But basically he kidnaps this heroine and is keeping her to get what they need in this situation because his whole family was murdered back in the day. So it's them following this whole path of that happening. And it was really good, really engaging. It was a book I could not put down. So I highly recommend it. And then there's Marie Maribella's Skeletons of Society. So Toxic Paradise is the trilogy name. So Skeletons of Society is the first book. I actually read book 2 first, which is my favorite. You could read these in any order. Book 1 is a female-run cartel. So she's trying to lead the cartel in the area she lives in. There's some other stuff happening. And it's so good. It's so good. And he is there kind of undercover. And then we go from there. Book 2, which is my favorite, and the one that I would recommend starting with, is A Why Choose. It's got a lot. But basically we have various heroes from different kinds of the mafias groups. And it's her romance with them. And she is the bastard daughter, as they call her, to a trader. And it turns out that she also is a tech genius and is doing all these things to help her family get through. Or to help herself get through all of this and get out. And in doing so, is equally as unhinged as the guys in this book. Equally as unhinged. And I love that. That is something I personally really like. I like when they're all unhinged. So they all are banana pants bonkers in that one. And I cannot recommend it enough. But you can start with book 1. You can start with book 2. Take your pick. I recommend book 1 or 2 first. And then don't read book 3 until you've read the other 2. But yeah. Oh, they're all unhinged in this. And I love when they all match each other's unhingedness. Next we have romantic suspense. And I have 3 options for you here. This is another one that I struggle with. I read these, but I don't. Like, usually if I want suspense, I'm just going to read a thriller. But we have one that I think is great, and that's called Whiteout. This came out really close to COVID, so it was hard to rec then. But basically, they're in Antarctica. There is a danger bang. Like, they're banging in the snow at a dangerous point, because that's the whole point of romantic suspense. But in that book, they have, like, poured out something from the ice, and it has, like, a virus in it, and these people want it, and they're on the run with the virus to make sure these people don't get it. It's really intriguing. It's really unique. Like, it's very different as a book. But I think it delivered really well on the romantic suspense element. And I really loved it. And then we have Pregnesia. This is a Harlequin suspense novel that I will never not recommend because it is bananas. She's pregnant and she wakes up with amnesia. And this guy saves her. And, like, the reveals of what happened to her and why she doesn't remember anything are bananas. And really, really fun. Like, really, really fun. But bananas. So go in with that knowledge and just, like, enjoy the ride. It is a wild time. It is a Harlequin, so it is shorter, which is fantastic. And I think it's really fun to read this one because it shows you how fun and silly some of these Harlequin romance novels can be, because I think they get a lot of shit for no reason and they deserve love. Last but not least, I have He Who Haunts Me. This is a college, so more new adult romance set at a college. There's a murderer on the run, and this girl and this guy are having these kind of flings, and he's wearing a mask, and there's concern, is he the killer? Because the killer is also wearing a mask, and the killer is also after her. So it's them having a romance and also this crime getting solved. And it was really fun. It was really interesting. It felt really fresh and new when I read it. So I think it's one that could be a really great option for anyone, like, looking to try this genre. So that is everything. Let me know if there are any certain, like, tropes or categories you want recommendations for, and I can add those to my content calendar. I'm happy to do so. Let me know if you have any entry point recommendations you like to give people. And if you don't want to do any of that, you can leave me a storm cloud emoji, because it was storming, it stopped, I filmed, and it looks like it's about to storm again. So I think I wrapped up it just in time. So you can leave me the emoji down there. I will have links to all these books for you down there, links to my friend anywhere on the internet that I am, and I will catch y'all in just a few days. Bye!
Already packing, come with me. I'm not really asking, we'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions, we'll get away, this is what we waited